Welcome to the Stop Over Drinking and Start Living podcast, where high-achieving, goal-oriented rebel women come to learn how to live a vibrant and fulfilling life without requiring alcohol to get through it. No labels, no judgments, no saying you'll never drink again. Just real proven methods to help you stop rebelling against yourself with alcohol so you can drink less and do more. I'm your host, Angela Mascenik. Let's dig in. Welcome to episode 353, The Truth About Healing and Your Emotions. Well, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. Today I have a very special treat and conversation for you to enjoy around healing and our feelings with my special friend, Sarah Trapkus. I intro Sarah at the beginning of the podcast, but what I want you to know is that this episode is actually recorded one part in Lisbon and one part in Chapel Hill, and while Sarah was in California. So we originally were together in Lisbon and doing some planning and retreating and working on our businesses for the next year. And we decided to record the podcast together, and then my computer crashed 10 minutes in. So we got the first 10 minutes, and then we decided to pick up where we couldn't record anymore once we got back. And so please enjoy the full conversation. And if you notice any difference in sound, that's why. But it was such a good conversation, one that was worth picking up again when we got back to our respective homes. Thanks for listening. I'm actually in Lisbon, Portugal, with my amazing friend, Sarah Trapkus. Say hi, Sarah.
Hi, everybody. It's so fun to be here.
Yeah, and so I think I've mentioned Sarah Trapkus before. She helped out in my Dry January challenge. She led a journey to help you explore what you wanted out of your relationship with alcohol. That was super fun.
That was great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we want to talk about healing and sort of the truth around healing your emotions. And we've been geeking out together this past week, like digging into work. We came here to retreat together and do some planning and some business stuff for what 2026 looks like for both of us in our businesses, and it's been amazing. And Sarah is also sober and doesn't drink, and so we talk a lot about feelings. Sarah's actually, she trains coaches in emotional healing work. So she actually trains other coaches to teach their clients and help their clients heal and process their feelings at a deeper level. So we love geeking out about all things feelings and healings and being alive and
going on lots of walks and doing yoga.
Yeah, and drinking coffee and eating yummy food and seeing the sunrises. Yeah, it's been awesome. So we wanted to pop in and just sort of do a casual conversation. We started this conversation yesterday on our walk around healing and sort of what people think healing is, why it's important, processing feelings, what is a wound? You guys are probably, I've got these wounds, or maybe you've had some therapy and you're like, you have this child wound, or, maybe you are taking a break from alcohol and you've got a lot of feelings that come up, like really difficult ones that you don't know what to do with. So we're going to help you kind of dive into that today. Yeah. So I guess we could define, like, what is a wound? Why don't you take this? Or do you want to tell them anything about yourself?
I want to say that I came into this work and I came to the place of training coaches how to facilitate deeper emotional healing work because I had anxiety most of my life. I felt really stuck in my body and in the limitations of distorted thinking and a pretty consistently activated nervous system. And so in order to live the life that I saw for myself and to thrive and to feel free and liberated in my body and in my mind and just in my day-to-day life, I had to figure out how to heal. And I had to really work on understanding those core wounds, those childhood wounds, and how they were leading me instead of just being something that I could move through and pass. And so, that feels important to state.
I love that. That's what we're going to talk about. So you might be getting aware of your feelings, or maybe you've done a little bit deeper work and you're like, you've got these old wounds that you want to heal. And so I love that you just said that. It's like seeing them Mm-hmm. They don't go away necessarily,
No.
but we learn how to live with them, and they don't drive us down the behaviors that we don't want to have, and we can live with them and still go on and do amazing things, right? And like act differently in our lives.
Yeah, and they can actually be a source of empowerment and wisdom and the like perfect, beautiful complexity that humans have that adds color and vibrancy to your life. And that's, I think that's really what I teach, is the deeper emotional processing work isn't just learning how to move through an emotion, like accepting it. It's really getting into the heart and the core of it and understanding it on an energetic level. And so I think wounds can be one of our greatest teachers, but we have to know how to be with them.
And I think they can make us who we are. Like they can, some of my deepest wounds are like, I wanted to get away from my family, like my family of origin. And it drove me to achieve things that nobody in my family has ever achieved and do things differently. And so like, that wasn't a bad thing. But understanding that about yourself and seeing that and how it could be activated in other ways that maybe you don't like, or you want to stop certain behaviors and things is really important. So they really make us who we are. Yes. If you take the time to explore them and get to know yourself. And when you do that, you get to be connected to yourself more. You get to enjoy your own company, and then you don't need to escape yourself when you have these things activated within inside of you.
Yeah, and I think just to like pin that right there, and we'll deepen into this conversation and this topic as we move on, but just specifically around connecting to yourself. When you have a clear connection to yourself, when you truly love yourself and have your own back and live for your truth and what you want in life, that's when you have, I call it the reconciliation of self. That's when all the parts, all the pieces that have been separated because of the wounds are reintegrated back and given a home in this beautiful, safe space of you.
Yeah, and then you can be in full integrity with yourself, and you get to make decisions that are in alignment with the life that you want to live, and that feels good at the end of it, right? You can be sometimes when you're cutting back on drinking, a lot of times, most of the time, you're exposing yourself to all of your feelings and thoughts, right? And that is so uncomfortable. That's why people are so scared of this. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't sit still at the end of the day with nothing in my hand and I'm not consuming anything. I'm not consuming my phone or TV or wine or food. I'm just sitting there with myself. People are so scared of that. So many of my clients, I'm like, I give them homework assignments of your job is to sit there for 5 minutes and see what comes up and just be curious, right? And when you learn how to be with that and those feelings, and you go in and you process them and you learn that about yourself, you're not scared of that anymore. You know how to move through that, and you get to know yourself, and then you make decisions that are the best for you. And then you start taking a different direction in your life. And it's a beautiful, beautiful process.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So let's talk about what is a wound. How would you define that?
Okay. I'm going to talk about this from the perspective that I believe we are all in, which is that of the adult. We are all adults. So we have wounds that were experiences from the past. And in those experiences, something happened, and I'm going to use the word trauma very liberally here, because the way I look at trauma and define trauma is an experience where you had to separate from yourself. So it's not what happened, it's how you responded to it. So whatever that is, right? We all have experiences from our past, when we were children at our most vulnerable, where we had to separate from ourselves. And that could either look like being silenced, shutting down, hiding, making a decision about who we are, what we are and aren't allowed to do. And it creates a wound. And it's like a glitch in the timeline. And we have those in our timeline. We have those from our past. And so when those are left unconscious, so they're just now, I call it a blueprint. Like there's been an energetic blueprint in your nervous system and in your identity, then they start playing out subconsciously moment to moment in your life. So something else will happen in your life. You'll have a trigger, but the trigger is the wound. The trigger is the thing that is coming up because there is a separation from self. And so that's how I define a wound. It's those experiences that led to the separation of self that are now held in the energetics of the body and the nervous system and get triggered.
Yeah. So like an example of a trigger could be like, maybe you have a coworker that sends you an email and immediately you feel like this rage or anger. And that's it's triggering an emotional response in you, right? And that's probably something that you've had for a long time. Like you probably all know of different situations that trigger you and your most difficult and painful feelings, right? If somebody tells you no, or maybe you're not heard or listened to in your family, or you have failures, you try things and you fail a lot, which is the normal human experience, but you know what they are, right? Maybe there's a lot of commotion and you feel like you can't say no. Like people are demanding your time and energy and that feels exhausting and tiring for you. That could be a trigger. So you probably are all pretty familiar what your big painful triggers are. And that just is, and they're consistent. They show up pretty consistently no matter, like every time somebody does something you don't like, or maybe not according to how it's done, it's triggering, right? So that's, Sarah did a great job explaining how that happens. And then our current circumstances trigger us to have those feelings activated. Yeah. And so we need to learn how to be with those feelings and not be responsive to them. And that's, I guess, where the healing process comes in. Okay, so I guess we should talk about the healing process then. And I think we are just discussing this earlier, but the healing process, I'm thinking, is like this overarching umbrella, and then there's different components to the healing process. One is how to process your feelings. And when you're working on your relationship with alcohol, you kind of have to get away from the alcohol enough to be able to see some of these triggers and emotions coming through. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about, what do you think we should talk about first? First of all, let me just say this. If you don't know what your wounds are, it's okay. You can still work on this, right? I think often they will become apparent to you when you take a break from alcohol. So whatever your choice of drug is, substance, it could be overworking. It could be saying yes to too many things. It could be scrolling. It could be numbing out on TV. It could be alcohol. We're here mostly about the alcohol. Or it could be eating. Once you sort of recognize the thing that you don't want to be doing and you know that it's causing harm in your life and you want to stop doing that thing, that's when you're probably going to start getting aware of your triggers more and some of these deeper patterns that you see. So if you don't know yet, it's okay. You don't have to go searching for it. Let me just tell you that. Just stop doing whatever the thing is that's hurting you and it will come up. Right, Sarah?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because the thing that you're doing to escape is keeping you from knowing it's your core wound. And so it's a reaction or an avoidance of that core wound. And I think it's important to say here, as underneath the umbrella of healing, is that those core wounds, they don't need to go away. So I think it's debunking some
it's like ideas that we're going to heal this wound and it's going to go away and we don't ever have to deal with it again.
Yeah. It's all about changing your relationship to it. It's all about reclaiming your power, reclaiming your agency, reclaiming your integrity with yourself. I love how that word's been used here, so that nothing outside of you, nor anything inside of you that threatens your peace, your presence, your clarity, can get the upper hand.
Yeah.
So, you don't have to go searching for the wound. It will reveal itself when you give it the space. And it also isn't going to hurt you. We have the capacity, we have the built-in ability to meet ourselves and meet all the parts of ourselves and to meet those past experiences that again, maybe were very difficult and challenging at the time. That's why we dissociated, or that's why we created habits or patterns or beliefs to protect ourselves. And so, but now that we're adults, we have the opportunity every day to decide how we want to show up for ourselves. And I just think it's so important. I have never seen anyone be harmed from meeting more of themselves.
Whenever I'm guiding people through this and processing and going in and looking at this stuff, it's only loving, compassionate things that come out of it. There might be some tears. It might feel hard, but like at the end of it, it's beautiful. And I would say the harm that is being caused is by not dealing with it. That's what's causing the over drinking. That's what causing whatever the drug of choice that you're using is. And that actually could cause you to die. Literally.
Absolutely.
We hear it all the time, right? It can be very harmful to just keep thinking that you don't need to look at this stuff. So anyway, so if you are taking a break from alcohol or your drug of choice or whatever that looks like, and you start notice some of these things come up, how do you think, Sarah, would be the first step to sort of like being with it and addressing it?
Well, you said like the compassion and the curiosity. I think those are two of the most valuable emotions or ways of being that any of us can choose to anchor into every day. So what does that look like? What does that look like to anchor into compassion and curiosity for yourself? Well, the first thing is you're going to have to look at all the stories and the ideas and the thoughts that automatically come up that take you away from that way of being. But it can be really useful to perhaps think of just become the observer of yourself, right? So in order to really drop into compassion and curiosity, it's adopting the observer perspective. So just not needing to identify with all the chaos that's probably starting to surface in the mind and in the body, all the energy that's, all the emotions that are wanting to be felt because they've been avoided for so long, or all the thoughts that are getting louder and louder and louder because you're not numbing out, and to just observe those. Yeah. And that can allow you to drop into curiosity and also compassion. Like if this was something that your child was experiencing, or another loved one, a dear friend, or somebody that you have a lot of respect for, like knowing that they're going through this, how would you want them to show up for themselves? So it's just giving yourself that same grace. That's
I have a good example.
Yeah, go ahead.
So in the Sober October challenge that we're doing right now, we're sharing what's coming up in their urges, just kind of like real life stuff. And one lady shared that her family had done something huge for her. They had written all these sentiments about how amazing she was and like put them on cards and given to her. And it was beautiful, right? It was like this overwhelming, like showing her of this love, right? And she came home and she had an urge to drink. And she paused long enough to recognize the thoughts in her mind, these belief systems. The wound came up was, you shouldn't be vain. You could be too much, right? You don't deserve this. And what she saw in that moment and what she did was exactly what you just said. She decided to love herself in that moment and not drink. That's exactly what we are talking about, like a real life example. But you have to be willing to pause and recognize it wasn't the urge for the alcohol, right? She had to go a little bit deeper there and be like, what am I thinking right now? And be conscious of what was happening so that she could see that. And the healing process was when she decided to love herself in that moment. So beautiful, right?
Good. Yeah.
So good.
And I think that ties into another something else to put in place that really helps, be on this journey, to start off on this healing journey, is to know your deeper reason for why. What is really at stake here? So, I know that you teach this to your clients, Angela, like, okay, well, if you stay on the same path of, this continues to be the relationship with alcohol you have, you can see what the results of that are going to be. But if you change your relationship to alcohol, you can see what that can be. You can start to imagine what might be different. And so why do you want it to be different? Is because you want to feel more connected to your kids and your partner? Is it because you want to start a business and you want to focus on like learning new skills? Like whatever it is, just really getting clear on that deeper reason why and letting that be the trajectory that pulls you, so that when everything else feels really intense, you have that, like your beautiful client who had the cards and that anchor of love from those around her, which allowed her to choose and love herself.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And sometimes I think too, people don't they want to say, because I want to feel better, I want more clarity, I want more energy, right? And sometimes that's hard in the moment when you're having an urge or you're feeling that unworthiness that this woman, in that example, she was feeling unworthy of these accolades and this love, this attention that she was receiving, right? And it can be very hard in those moments to remember your why.
Mm-hmm.
So I will just offer you guys this. The why could be just to love yourself more. Mm-hmm. Just so that you can feel more connected to yourself and to be with those feelings and not love yourself in that moment. Because, and I want to be careful of the language I use around here, because I'm not saying that you don't love yourself if you choose to drink. I still think you can love yourself and still get into bad behaviors and habits, right? And patterns. But you can choose to love yourself unconditionally and be with those feelings. That is the biggest thing. And when you can do that, it literally becomes a superpower.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's important to say that how you're expanding your capacity to love, like the you that you're choosing to love in that moment, is probably a part of you that has been wanting, needing, asking for that love for quite a while. It's just you haven't been able to respond to it because of the habit of numbing out with alcohol. Mm-hmm. So the why is always connected to something. The deeper why is always connected to the parts that are currently unconscious, that aren't fully integrated, mm-hmm. that want to be part of this big, beautiful, full-on lived life. Mm-hmm. And so when we pause and we create space with compassion and curiosity, those parts start to come up. Mm-hmm. For attention, for reconciliation. Yeah. And that's what it looks like. Yeah.
So do we want to talk about how to process a feeling? If they are faced with this situation, say they are taking a break or drinking less and something intense comes up.
Yes.
I talk about this at length, and I have mm-hmm. my stop, notice, and process and get into your body and feel. But why don't you give them the Sarah way of dropping into that?
Well, it's very similar. I just have different language around it. I think the most important thing is to, when you say just to stop and drop and notice, how I describe it is to separate from the story, right? So a lot of people think well, if I allow myself to feel, then I'm just going to go down a deep, dark pit of emotional indulgence. I'm never going to get out of it. And what's important to know is that it's never the emotion that you're going to get stuck in. It's the story. It's the story that we indulge in. Mm-hmm. And so it's so important to separate from that story. It's so important to say, yes, this story is connected to this emotion because my brain has created that relationship. But it probably goes so much deeper than that. And we actually won't be able to unwind the emotion from our body if we stay stuck in the story. So dropping in and just noticing is what I say is I just put a nice, beautiful golden net around the story, around the mind, and just pull it off to the side, just give space and just drop into the body, really find presence. And so with my clients, I lead them through some breathing exercises, some just bringing awareness into the body, really anchoring in to the current space and time. Notice, using your senses to orient yourself right here into this space and time, and then just bringing the mind's eye to where in the body the sensation is happening. So just really connect your mind's eye with the sensation in the body and feel it, see it, describe it, be with it. And this is another place where we can really strengthen that observer self, because we're watching the emotion, we're feeling the emotion, we're being with it. So there's that curiosity, like, oh, what is this? Wow, it never ceases to amaze me that no matter who I do this work with, no matter how they describe themselves as able or unable to feel an emotion, are able to drop in and really get some clear visual or clear knowing, or at least be able to describe what this feeling in their body is like.
Yeah.
And it creates this fascinating experience, which really helps you connect with your emotions and realize, like, they're not here to harm me, they're here to inform me.
Yeah.
To help me. So the way I process emotions is just bringing more of that full presence and the mind's eye, and as much of yourself into the experience, and using all your senses to be with that feeling, that sensation, that emotion. And then what I teach my students who are coaches is how to facilitate a conversation with the energy body of that emotion. So it goes much deeper into the subconscious, into guided journey work, or, to really get into an understanding of, like, well, why are you here? What is it that you need? If I don't need you to fulfill that, what would you become? Because emotion is just energy in motion, and stuck emotion is, like we talked about earlier, there's that blip in the timeline. There's that energetic blueprint that holds these wounds in place. And so when we follow our emotions, they will guide us potentially to one of these wounds. And so when we meet it with that curiosity and compassion, and bring our consciousness to it, the energy can then move. And so that's how I help unwind and shift and transform emotion. So that's my version of emotional processing.
Beautiful. Yeah, and I do that with them too. So if they're working with me in a group or privately, we definitely do that. So they might be familiar with that process listening to you. But if you're not, how does it sound? If a lay person, just a regular person, okay, I listened to this podcast and I'm going to not drink tonight, and some shit might come up, and I'm going to go try in and I'm going to feel into this thing. First of all, I want to say, I love your golden net around the mind and tying it up with a bow. I describe it as popping my Lego head off and putting it on the side table. So it's like we're just going to separate our mind right now and let that just be where it is, and then just go into our body, right? Yeah, so good. Okay, so let's just, for the layperson, like if they were going to try this tonight, how would you help them do that?
Yeah, well, first of all, good job for intentionally deciding that you want to give this a shot.
Yes.
So great when we decide ahead of time that we are going to allow ourselves to feel something, is that we take control over it. We put ourselves in the power position. So the first thing is, like, create a delightfully beautiful, sacred, safe space for yourself. Like, don't, carve out the time and the space that creates the most nourishment, that creates the most connectivity to yourself. So whatever that looks like for you, maybe you want to dim the lights, turn off the TV, tell people that you're not going to be available for a while.
Yes.
Put your phone in another room.
Yes.
Light some candles, turn on some nice soothing music, and let yourself have an embodied experience. So what that means is that our emotions are our human experience. It's what we feel in our physical form, in our body. It's happening right here in our bodies. So let's be in our bodies with it. So if you're, just give yourself permission to move your body, give yourself permission to maybe dance or sway or rock or stretch, or get on your yoga mat and do whatever poses are conducive to what you're feeling in your body that's very supportive to that. allow yourself to maybe give voice to what you're feeling. And if it's not something that you can speak out loud, have a journal and a pen nearby so you can write it out. So you're making it real, you're making it tangible, you're giving it, like, have fun with it. It's a very creative, non-linear, non-logical process. So that's another thing, is try not to have an agenda. Try not to decide ahead of time what it should look like or what it's going to look like. Again, it's about being present with and allowing yourself to meet this emotion, and just meeting it with reverence and love, compassion, curiosity, and allowing your body to move it through. I think it's one of the most sacred experiences when we really, truly give ourselves permission to deepen in to this experience, even though maybe you've never done, like, again, this might be somebody that has like never even considered intentionally working with their emotions. Just when you start playing with it, it can be one of the most empowering experiences you can have. And it's quite awe-inspiring what ends up coming through, what you're shown, what becomes clear. A lot of information can reveal itself.
Yeah, I would agree. We can make decisions better. I mean, it just, like, it's a practice, right? And it's not something, we talked about this earlier about like the wounds and these deeper feelings going away. It's something that is a practice that you want to keep doing, to keep things moving, really, and to make it feel a little bit easier. Once you start uncover some of the deeper wounds and you start working with them and they start to feel lighter, when they come up again, you're not going to be so activated to act on them. You'll know how to handle them. You'll know what it is. You can love yourself through it. And it just becomes like, okay, just a do-do instead of a, right? Yeah.
You just change your relationship to them, and they just become, I mean, they all hold or reflect parts of yourself that if you were reacting to it in the past, that meant there are these parts of yourself from childhood or when you're a teenager or a young adult that you were still either judging or shaming or just were disconnected from. And as you feel the emotions and let it move through as energy, you reconcile with those parts, and now you have more of yourself. And so you're no longer trying to avoid or hide, or you're not wasting energy judging or shaming or feeling like you're wrong or you've done something wrong.
Ultimately, life just feels easier when you do this, and it's not some mystery about why you feel this way, you shouldn't feel this way, and the judgment and all of that, and then you're numbing and escaping and trying to keep all that stuff down deep dark somewhere, and it just doesn't have to be that way. So for the person, I just want to talk about, like, Sarah, I love the ritual idea, like having that space in your house anyway to be reflective and think about your day and, plan and be intentional, and, the sacred space for yourself is really important. So if you're in one of my groups, then you know that I'm a big advocate of that kind of stuff. And if you don't, like, if you have a big intensive emotion coming on and you don't have that set up, for me, it's just like, go to the bathroom, separate yourself from noise, other people, the alcohol, distractions. And you could even just go sit in the bathroom with yourself and just do some breathing, like drop into your body, notice where you feel it. I like to ground myself some way by, usually how I do is I put my hand to my chest. I notice my feet on the floor. I remember them safe in this moment. I pop my Lego head off. And I go into my body and just focus on your breathing, in and out, and then get into, where am I feeling this? What's going on? Be curious, explore it a little bit. And you will notice when you start engaging with it that your temperature will start to come down and you will start to not feel as triggered. And you can get a little bit more clarity with that. So you don't need to wait to have the perfect space for it. You can do this if you're at a restaurant, if you're in a public space, like go outside, get some fresh air if you need to. And if you can't do anything about it in that moment, that sacred space that you have at home is something, I want to revisit this. I couldn't get into it when I was, doing this thing, but I want to revisit it now. And you just allow yourself to do exactly what Sarah said.
Yep. Yeah. It's like if you were hanging out with your toddler and you're in the grocery store and they just start having a meltdown, you're not going to put duct tape over their mouth and hog tie them and put them in the cart until it's convenient, right? We respond to the toddler. I've walked out of grocery stores many times because I needed to respond to my toddler. I needed to be with what was coming up in the moment. And it's like, imagine treating yourself and your emotions with that same regard. Just what does prioritizing it in that moment look like? Sometimes it's, like Angela said, just get to a place, lock yourself in the bathroom. I will often put my hand on my heart or my belly or wrap my arms around myself and give myself a hug, or just visualize my feet anchoring even more into the ground and a white light pouring down, just so in that moment I feel protected and safe until I can get somewhere where I can really be with myself. And it might mean canceling previously made appointments. It might mean coming home and saying, I'm not making dinner tonight. I'm going to go be in my room because this is important.
Yeah. And I think, too, acknowledging that you're having it, if it's not something that you feel like you can go into for yourself in that moment, just saying, I recognize I'm having a big feeling right now, and I want to make sure that I address this later. That just awareness alone is so powerful, right? Just naming it. I'm feeling this way right now. I recognize this. I definitely want to explore this later. And if you forget, at least you've given yourself some acknowledgement in the moment, right?
Yeah.
That it's not just like unconscious to it and then you go and numb out, right?
Yeah, it's so much better than wondering what's wrong with me.
Yep.
What's, oh my gosh, why am I feeling this way? That's all in the head. That's all in the Lego head. That's all in that's all in the part of the mind that wants to keep you, unfortunately, separate from the body, right? Because that's the familiar patterning. So if there's nothing wrong, nothing's gone wrong. There doesn't even have to be a reason why you feel the way you do. The most important step is to be with yourself and how you feel.
Yeah.
And just, like you said, acknowledging it is huge.
Yeah. So that's the healing process, is doing that on a regular basis, right? And giving yourself that space and time. And sometimes it's helpful to have a professional like Sarah and I help you through that and give you those tools and regular support. And we encourage you to do that if this doesn't feel comfortable doing it on your own. Sometimes it's hard to do this on your own if you've never had help with it before.
Oh my gosh, my entire life is curated to be resourced.
Yeah.
Be on the healing journey. I mean, every the way things are set up is 100% to maintain and continually deepen into healing. And again, that doesn't mean that the core wounds or the things that are problems go away. What it means is that your capacity to be with them and to bring love and compassion and curiosity to them increases and expands, and you have more of yourself.
Can we also talk about, with that, like we were saying, it might not ever go away. Some of my when I first found my core wound was shame. Because I would voice something as a child and I would be hit back with, you caused this. That's your fault, right? And so I developed a very big shame wound, right? And so once I saw that, and I started working on it with therapy and coaching and everything that I do. I don't keep revisiting the original thing that happened to me. And that's what a lot of people I don't want to have to replay that in my head, right? That's not what we're inviting you to do. The wound the feeling in your body might activate, something in your current life is activating that feeling in your body. You don't have to go back in your mind and replay that original thing. And sometimes we can't even find out what that original thing is. We really just only remember what things feel like in our past. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, 100% correct. When we allow the emotion or all the energy that's connected to that core wound and we let it move through like it's intended to. Energy is meant to move and expand and grow. We live in an expanding universe. That's how it works. We are going to discharge so much of our felt experience around certain circumstances, like people telling us, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, or who do you think you are, or whatever the things are that how they show up, that is a direct connection to that trigger, that wound. And while we are letting that energy move through and it's having less and less and less of a charge for us, what the decisions that we can then are available to make are going to get more clear, so that you're going to start making decisions around relationships, what you are and aren't available for. You're going to start feeling more empowered to set clear boundaries, so that you're not just not triggered by what certain people say or how certain things are said, but you're also willing to rearrange your life so that those things that's just not even something that happens. Like, we create new normals for ourselves when we are on a healing journey. And that's not to say for the person right now that is like, oh my gosh, I can identify like 4 relationships that I'm in that I actually don't feel like I can be my full self. And I often feel criticized and ridiculed. The first step is just to allow what you're feeling to move through, to allow it. Sometimes that in and of itself will change the dynamic of our relationship. But we just don't know. We don't know, and we don't need to know. The important part is that you're committed to your own journey of healing, and that with each step you have more agency and more sovereignty and more, personal power and greater capacity to make decisions that are in greater alignment with who you are and what you want.
It's beautiful.
Those are the rewards as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I have a good example of that. So I think I've shared this on the podcast. You definitely know this story, but this organization that I was very involved with, it became not a very healthy place for me to be a part of. And I kept wondering, like, why do I keep wanting to go back to this thing? Why do I keep wanting to go back to this thing that I know isn't good for me? And I would question my decisions around it, and I'd have anxiety around going to this thing, or if an opportunity was presented to me about going to this thing, it would take me a lot. Like, I just couldn't figure out, like, I wanted to do it and then I didn't want to do it. And I was mad at myself. Like, it was just so messy. Right. And I was actually in therapy at the time. And he told me that I was addicted to rejection. And I was like, what the heck? And I really thought about that. I was like, yeah, because like I keep wanting a different outcome. But the outcome keeps saying the same thing to me over and over and over again. It's like with alcohol. You know that the outcome is always going to be bad for most of us. But why do we keep going back? Because you're addicted to like that idea of what it could be, right? And so that really landed for me. I'm like, yeah, why am I? So why do I keep doing things that aren't good for me? And so through that healing journey, I finally got to a place to be like, you know what? That's not good for me anymore. And I'm willing to risk losing what I think I would get or gain if I go. And the moment that I said that, I could then sense other opportunities in the future by feeling into it. Is that going to be good for me or not? And I know that. And so these kind of decisions are so much easier to make. And I don't deliberate and think about it and overthink and like question myself so much because I figured out what that was and I healed it. Does it still come up? Yes, but I can call it out so much faster and move through these decisions. And like I said, your quality of your life, your experience in your life just becomes so much easier to navigate when you know this about yourself.
Yeah.
Remember that?
100%. Yeah. Yes. And that might have been around, the same time I was leaving my 16-year relationship.
Yes.
And I had to realize that I was participating in a dynamic.
Yes.
So my wounds were trying to get my attention, but how they were showing up was to be in an unhealthy relationship where they kept getting triggered, right? And so when I realized that I wasn't available for this anymore, I didn't, first of all, the mind drama, and what do I do? And how do I leave? And what about the kids? And like, I just had to choose myself, and an entire new life opened up for me.
Yeah.
Right. Because I no longer was in a dynamic where my core wound of abandonment was in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
I was in the driver's seat. So, it's like your addiction to rejection or a dynamic that created that for you. So you could stop rejecting yourself, really.
Yeah.
Right? So I could stop abandoning myself. And then those parts become reconciled. They become integrated. We become more whole, and it completely shifts how you make decisions and what opportunities are available to you.
And that when you do that and give yourself that opportunity, your life starts to look different. It's amazing. So fun. It's a beautiful experience. Yeah. It's hard. But it's already hard now. So like, you just have to like, you avoiding this stuff and continue drinking or doing whatever it is that you're doing because you don't want to go there, is still hard. And I would say it's even more dangerous, like I said before, than being willing. Take it piece by piece. You don't have to, it's not going to all become unraveled in front of your eyes, and you're going to have to deal with everything all at once either.
Yeah. When you choose this path of healing, you're also choosing to be divinely guided, supported, and protected. And there's a lot of grace in this, in the process. I think that we will never be shown or given anything that we don't have the capacity to handle, or that isn't already part of what we want, truly. We just now get to exercise it. And it's often unknown, unfamiliar, and that's what feels hard. But that's exactly what this journey looks like, because the familiar, drinking every night when you told yourself you didn't want to, waking up feeling like crap, not actually working on your goals and your dreams is far more detrimental.
It is.
Far more detrimental. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we talked about when we were together. Remember, I'm like, it's actually not hard to not drink. It's hard to keep doing that. It's hard to be in that freaking cycle. The act of actually not drinking is so much easier.
Yes.
It really is. I promise you, from somebody who's been through this, and Sarah has been through it too, it is so much better, so much more rewarding. You get to know yourself. You get to open up different opportunities for yourself. It's a beautiful experience.
It is.
Yeah. Anything else that they need to know about processing feelings, healing? I think we debunked some myths maybe, or beliefs around it.
I mean, I'm on my desk is, that famous quote from Marianne Williamson. And I think the part of it that I want to bring in here is that this decision and this journey is never just for you. It is always going to ripple out and positively impact, even if it doesn't look like it is. It will always, the more you're connected to yourself, the more you're willing to move into your truth and alignment with yourself and health with yourself, it is going to positively impact everyone around you, your family, your children, your friends, your community, your coworkers, the entire world. So, like she said, as you let your own light shine, you unconsciously give other people permission to do the same.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really important to know about the healing journey, that it's not selfish.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Okay. Well, I feel complete with talking about this topic for today anyway. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Sarah.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. We'll talk to you all soon.